When Jamie Newman first got to Wake Forest, he was buried on the depth chart. Now he is viewed as one of the top quarterback prospects from the 2021 NFL Draft. But who is Jamie Newman? If you like this video, leave a like and subscribe to the channel. I release football related content every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Also, leave a comment letting me know who you want to see in future videos. Jamie Newman was born on December 1st, 1997 in North Carolina. He attended Graham High School where he was a 4-year starter. During his sophomore year, he threw for 2,034 yards and 13 touchdowns while rushing for 750 yards and 12 touchdowns. During his junior year, he accounted for 3,091 total yards of offense and 29 touchdowns. He threw for 1,840 passing yards and 20 touchdowns. He also rushed for 1,251 yards and 9 touchdowns. Newman finished in the top 30 of the Elite 11 competition between his junior and senior year. During his senior year, Newman threw for 1,367 yards and 12 touchdowns. He also rushed for 419 yards and 8 touchdowns on 106 carries. Newman would miss 2 games during his senior season but still led Graham to the state playoffs. Newman was named a team captain and was a 3-time Burlington Times News All-Regional selection. Newman was a 3-star recruit according to 24/7 Sports and Scouts. He was the 26th best player in the South by Scouts. According to 24/7 Sports, he was the 4th best quarterback in North Carolina, 17th best dual threat in the country, and 649th best player in the nation. Newman measured to be 6'4" and 219 pounds. He had offers from Air Force, Appalachian State, Boston College, Duke, East Carolina, Elon, North Carolina State, Syracuse, Vanderbilt, Wake Forest, and West Virginia. Many believed that Newman would choose Vanderbilt, but surprised everyone when he verbally committed to Wake Forest on April 20th, 2015, and enrolled on February 3rd, 2016. Newman decided to stay close to home, only going an hour away from Graham. Newman decided to redshirt his freshman year and would be named Offensive Scout Team Player of the Week. During his redshirt freshman year, he was the 3rd-string quarterback on the depth chart. John Wofford, the starting quarterback, threw for 3,192 yards, 29 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions, as well as rushing for 683 yards and 10 touchdowns that season. Wake Forest went 8-5 that season and won the Belk Bowl over Texas A&M. At the beginning of the season, in a 51-7 win, Newman played 22 snaps. Newman completed 2 of his 4 passes for 8 yards and had 1 carry for 5 yards. Newman also played on the hands team that season against Notre Dame. During Newman's sophomore season, he competed for the starting job against Sam Hartman. Hartman was a 3-star recruit who was best known for being a part of Season 2 of QB1 Beyond the Lights. Newman struggled with an upper thigh injury in camp and missed the first 3 games of the season. Hartman won the starting job and seemed to have a stranglehold on it. He threw for 1,984 yards, 16 touchdowns, and 8 interceptions, completing 55.3% of his passes before he broke his leg. Newman came in to relieve the injured Hartman in a 41-24 loss to Syracuse. Going into Newman's first start, he had only played 27 total snaps in his career. Wake Forest had a 4-5 record and was fighting to make a bowl game. Newman's first start came against number 22 ranked North Carolina State. Newman became the first player in Wake Forest history to have their first start on the road against a ranked opponent. Newman completed 22 of his 33 pass attempts for 297 yards, second most by a quarterback in their first career start at Wake Forest, behind Sam Hartman, who threw for 378 yards earlier that season, 3 touchdowns and 44 rushing yards. Newman hit Jack Freudenthal on a 32-yard passing touchdown with 30 seconds left to lead Wake Forest to a 27-23 win. Newman became the 3rd quarterback in school history to throw for 3 touchdowns in their first career start. In Newman's second start, he struggled, only completing 50% of his passes for 206 yards, 1 touchdown and 2 interceptions in a loss to Pittsburgh. Newman rebounded against Duke, completing 18 of his 23 passes for 177 yards and 4 touchdowns, as well as 50 rushing yards. In the bowl game against Memphis, Newman completed 22 of his 40 passes for 328 yards, 1 touchdown and 1 interception, as well as rushing for 91 yards and 3 touchdowns. Newman broke the Birmingham Bowl record for total offensive yards with 419 total yards. Wake Forest won the Birmingham Bowl and Newman was named the MVP. All 4 of Jamie Newman's starts came against teams who played in bowl games that season. He threw for 1,008 yards and 8 touchdowns in 4 starts, going 3-1 as a starter. Going into the 2019 football season, it was going to be Newman versus Hartman 2. Newman rode the momentum from his 3-1 record the previous season and won the starting quarterback job. Newman started the season in a shootout against the Jordan Love-led Utah State. Newman threw for 401 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 1 rushing touchdown, while also completing 34 of his 47 passes. Against Elon, Newman completed 27 of his 35 passes for 351 passing yards, 5 touchdowns, and 1 interception. Newman led Wake Forest to a 5-0 start and ranked in the top 25. In a game against Louisville, Newman completed 24 of his 41 passes for 251 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. He would hurt his shoulder and left the game. Wake Forest lost to Louisville 62-59. Newman missed the Florida State game, but would take back the starting role for the rest of the season. Later in the season, Newman got hurt in the Syracuse game during the first half. Poetically, Hartman made a bid for the starting quarterback role when he threw for 350 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. Newman completed 12 of his 27 passes for 175 yards, 3 touchdowns, and an interception, while also rushing for 87 yards in a loss to Michigan State in the Pinstripe Bowl. Newman finished the season with 2,868 passing yards, 26 touchdowns, and 11 interceptions, while completing 220 of his 361 passes. Newman added 574 yards and 6 touchdowns on the ground as well. Jamie Newman would set the record with 12 consecutive games with a passing touchdown. He finished second in the ACC for yards per game and second for passing touchdowns in a single season at Wake Forest. Newman finished as honorable mention All-ACC and had to make a tough decision. It seemed like the coaching staff viewed Newman and Hartman as equals. Should he stay at Wake Forest and risk losing the starting job, crushing any possibility of being an NFL draft pick one day, or does he leave Wake Forest? Many believe that Newman may enter the NFL draft, but instead, he decided to enter the transfer portal. Hindsight 2020, he probably made the right decision to transfer rather than enter the NFL draft. In his career at Wake Forest, Jamie Newman threw for 3,959 yards, 35 touchdowns, and 16 interceptions, while completing 306 of his 506 passes. Newman also rushed for 826 yards and 10 touchdowns. Newman played in 19 games, starting 16 of them, and went 10-6 as a starter. When Newman entered the transfer portal, he was highly recruited. Newman narrowed down his list of schools to Oregon, Georgia, Washington, Miami, and Maryland. At the time, Oregon needed to replace Justin Herbert, Georgia did not know whether Fromm was going to stay or declare for the draft, and Washington needed to replace Jacob Eason. Jake Fromm would declare for the NFL draft, and 3 days later, Newman committed to Georgia. Newman was a graduate transfer, meaning he is immediately eligible and can start for Georgia. Many are projecting Newman as a top 5 quarterback in the 2021 NFL draft, and his draft stock may only go up playing in the SEC. Newman is not guaranteed the start though. Georgia actually has a pretty full quarterback room. Newman will compete with former 4-star freshman Carson Beck, who enrolled early, walk-on Jackson Muschamp, son of Will Muschamp, junior Stenson Bennett, redshirt freshman DeJuan Mathis, and former walk-on Nathan Presley. Newman was able to transfer to Georgia immediately and is the only quarterback on the roster with starting experience, which gives him an advantage with the loss of spring ball and an expected shortened fall camp due to COVID-19. If you like this video, check out my other videos in the Who Is series. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and remember to embrace the grind.